Ladies, I'm about to tell you something that most people won't dare say. After 60, having a boyfriend might actually be more dangerous than being alone. And according to Freud, our desires, our ego, even our unconscious drives, they're playing tricks on us whether we like it or not. Watch until the end because by the last reason, you'll never look at romance the same way again. And yes, comment below if you've been tempted. I want to hear your thoughts. I'm speaking from experience, both mine and what I've learned from women older than me. Freud taught that humans are driven by hidden desires, unconscious fears, and the constant tug of war between what we want and what we need. And here's the shocking truth. At our age, getting involved in a new romantic relationship can awaken all of that, often in ways we're completely unprepared for. Ladies, here's something Freud always warned about, even if he never said it in these exact words for women our age. Our unconscious mind carries the weight of our past, childhood experiences, old heartbreaks, relationship trauma. And when we think we're ready for a new boyfriend at 60 or beyond, what we often don't see is that we're not starting fresh. That little voice that says, maybe this time it'll be different. Freud would call it the pleasure principle, our innate drive for happiness, constantly running against the reality of who we are and what we've already experienced. So you start dating, thinking you're calm, collected, mature, and then suddenly the old patterns creep in. You notice yourself over-apologizing, bending over backward to keep him happy, or, on the flip side, reacting with anger or suspicion when something small goes wrong. These aren't new behaviors. They're echoes of old wounds, replaying like a record you thought you'd erased years ago. And here's the kicker. At 60 plus, your emotional recovery doesn't happen as quickly as it once did. One argument, one misunderstanding, and suddenly you're reliving insecurities from decades ago. Freud would remind us that the unconscious doesn't care about age. It only cares about unresolved desires and fears. And ladies, if you think you're immune to this, think again. These patterns can hit harder now than ever before because you've invested so much of yourself into stability. Freud taught us that the human mind is divided. The id, driven by raw desire, the ego, our conscious self trying to mediate reality, and the superego, the voice of morality, rules, and social expectations. At 60 plus, we've spent years balancing these forces, creating routines, peace, and stability in our lives. Enter a new boyfriend. Suddenly, the ID wakes up. Desires you thought were long buried start demanding attention. Maybe it's the thrill of flirtation, the warmth of being wanted, or the excitement of sexual chemistry. Freud would say your ego tries to keep everything in check, but here's the truth, it's exhausting. You're negotiating with impulses you haven't felt in years, while also trying to protect your dignity, your health, your independence. And let's be honest, at our age, our egos don't bounce back as quickly. You start second-guessing, am I too needy? Am I giving too much? Am I losing myself? That tension, the constant tug-of-war between desire and reason, can quietly steal your peace of mind. And what's worse, the longer you let it simmer, the more it affects your self-esteem, your energy, and even your health. Freud had a name for it, object relations, the way we attach to others, how we unconsciously seek security in someone else. At 60 plus, independence is our hard-won treasure. We've spent decades learning how to manage our own lives, finances, emotions, and happiness. But a new boyfriend can awaken an unconscious desire to cling, to seek reassurance, to depend. You start imagining that life with him is essential, that his presence validates your worth, that without him, something is missing. And here's the shocking part. It doesn't even matter if he's perfect or kind. Our minds, our unconscious, is already setting up the dependency trap. Freud would say this is natural, even predictable. But the risk, once that dependency takes hold, it can subtly erode your independence. You may start compromising more than you want, tolerating behaviors you normally wouldn't, or sacrificing routines that keep you sane. At 60 plus, we've earned our freedom, and giving it away, even unconsciously, can cost more than heartbreak. It can cost your very sense of self. And the scary truth? Many women only realize it when it's almost too late, when their days, choices, and even their emotions revolve around someone else's approval. Ladies, let's talk about something that most people shy away from: money. Freud didn't talk about dollars and cents, but he spoke extensively about power, control, and the unconscious drives that govern our choices. And let me tell you, at 60 plus, a new relationship can awaken all sorts of hidden vulnerabilities, especially financial ones. You've worked decades for your security. Maybe you saved, invested, or built a comfortable home. And then along comes someone new, someone charming, maybe a bit needy, maybe even just lonely themselves. The unconscious mind has a funny way of wanting to protect others, to nurture, even when it's risky. Freud would call this a form of sublimated desire, the need to feel loved and needed, expressed through giving. Before you know it, you're covering dinners, helping with bills, or even thinking about co-signing something, all in the name of love. And here's the kicker. Your desire to be wanted and appreciated can blind you to the fact that your hard-earned independence is at stake. At our age, losing financial control isn't just inconvenient, it's stressful, emotionally draining, and can make even the happiest moments feel unsafe. And the truth? Some women only realize the danger when it's too late, when their peace and independence are quietly slipping away. Freud taught that much of what we expect from others isn't conscious, it's buried deep in our psyche. And dating at 60 plus, those hidden expectations show up faster than you think. Maybe you think you're simply looking for companionship or someone to share meals with. But unconsciously, you're craving excitement, validation, attention, maybe even a reminder of your younger self. Meanwhile, he's likely looking for different things entirely: comfort, routine, someone to admire him, or just casual friendship. Freud would call this the clash between your unconscious desires and the external reality. And here's the shocker: that clash doesn't stay hidden. It creeps into conversations, into little disagreements, into disappointment when he doesn't act the way you imagined he would. Suddenly the relationship feels exhausting, confusing, even destabilizing. And let's be honest, at our age, we've earned enough peace to avoid unnecessary drama. And here's something women rarely admit. We're often the first to set up these unspoken traps for ourselves, chasing something our unconscious promises but can't deliver. Now let's talk about something Freud might have called the superego, the voice of societal and family expectations. When you start a new relationship after 60, it's not just about the two of you. Adult children, grandchildren, lifelong friends, they all have opinions, and many will feel entitled to share them. Freud argued that humans are constantly negotiating between their inner desires and the rules of the world around them. For us, this is painfully true. That charming new boyfriend? Suddenly, he's part of family dinners, holiday plans, and Sunday visits. Maybe your daughter feels threatened, your son is judgmental, or your friends think he's too much. And you feel pulled in 100 directions, wanting to protect the relationship while keeping your family happy, trying to balance love, loyalty, and independence. At our age, this tension can be brutal. We've spent years learning how to manage our own lives, and suddenly, we're managing everyone else's opinions too. Freud would say that these social pressures tap into our unconscious fears: fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of being alone, and they amplify emotional strain far beyond the relationship itself. And here's the shocking part: sometimes the relationship isn't even the problem. It's the ripple effect it creates in the lives we've built for decades. Ladies, let's be honest. Freud spent a lot of time exploring libido and sexual energy. And yes, passion can be intoxicating, even at 60 or 70. But here's the truth: it also demands energy. At our age, a new relationship can feel exhilarating one day, exhausting the next. You see, when we're younger, our bodies and minds bounce back quickly from late nights, emotional highs, and constant social interaction. After 60, everything takes a little longer: recovery, focus, even emotional regulation. A whirlwind romance can suddenly feel like a second job. Freud would argue that this tension between desire and physical limitation is exactly the point where the ego struggles. You want the excitement, the intimacy, the connection, but your body, your stamina, even your nervous system quietly pushes back. And ignoring it, that's when exhaustion turns into resentment, frustration, or anxiety. And the cruel truth? Passion feels thrilling at first, but it doesn't always come free. It costs peace, rest, and sometimes your health. Freud taught that repression leads to sudden, intense emotions. And let me tell you, ladies, a new boyfriend after 60 has a way of stirring up all the feelings you thought were behind you: anger, jealousy, insecurity, even grief from old losses. All of it can resurface without warning. We've spent years learning to regulate our emotions, to stay calm, and to protect our peace. But the new relationship? It's like a lightning rod for every unresolved feeling. One careless comment, one forgotten date, one disagreement, and suddenly, emotions you thought were under control are erupting like they haven't in decades. Freud would say this is the unconscious mind asserting itself. Your past, your desires, your fears, they're not gone. They're just waiting for a trigger. And romance can be that trigger. The more we try to suppress it, the stronger it gets. And the shocker? These emotional waves aren't subtle. They hit hard, fast, and leave you questioning yourself and the relationship. Here's a dangerous one, ladies: the illusion of youth. Freud believed that humans often seek external ways to feel younger, more alive, more desirable. And let's face it, a new boyfriend can feel like a fountain of youth. You feel seen, flirted with, maybe even wanted in ways you haven't felt in years. It's intoxicating. But here's the harsh truth: it's often an illusion. The thrill doesn't last forever, and when it fades, you're left with the same body, the same routines, and sometimes even more self-doubt than before. The danger is that this illusion can drive behavior unconsciously: spending more energy on appearance, worrying about every word or glance, or tolerating situations you normally wouldn't, all in the name of feeling younger. Freud would say your unconscious desire is hijacking your conscious choices, and at 60 plus, that's a toll you don't need. And the biggest shock? Chasing youth through romance rarely gives us what we're really longing for: peace, freedom, and self-respect. And finally, ladies, the ultimate truth: at this age, your peace, your mental, emotional, and spiritual peace, is priceless. Freud called the mind a battleground of desire, ego, and morality. And after 60, we've earned years of calm, stability, and wisdom. A new relationship can threaten that peace in subtle ways: arguments, anxiety, dependency, jealousy, or even just the mental energy required to manage someone else's moods. For decades, we've worked to protect ourselves, to nurture independence, and to live life on our own terms. And yes, love can be beautiful, but sometimes the cost is too high. Freud would remind us that the ego must mediate constantly between desire and reality. After 60, why put your ego through that struggle if the stakes are your happiness, your calm, your well-being? Some things, peace, freedom, self-respect, aren't negotiable. And the shocking truth? Once you've experienced this kind of peace, nothing, not even love, should threaten it. So there you have it. 10 shocking reasons from Freud's teachings and decades of real-life experience why having a new boyfriend after 60 can be riskier than you think. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever felt the pull of one of these traps? Comment below, share your story. Let's talk openly about what it's like to navigate love, desire, and independence in our golden years. And if you want more wisdom, insights, and advice for women over 60, straight from experience and psychology, sign up for my newsletter.